Hey, and what is up, movie viewers? Dena Mo Views and Reviews here. Once again, I'm asking, what you watching? Well, today I am watching Kindred. Okay, so this is the second Kindred movie that I have watched. This miniseries is in the American version, and there are 8 parts to this series that was released on FX. It was developed by Brandon Jacobs Jenkins and is based on the novel written by Octavia Butler. Now, this movie stars Mallory Johnson as Dana James, Mika Stock as Kevin Franklin, Ryan Quantin as Thomas Whalen, Austin Smith as Luke, David Alexander Kaplan as Rufus Whalen, Sophia Brown as Sarah, and Sheria Irvin as Olivia. Now, this movie was directed by Ali Leroy. It is created by Brandon Jacobs Jenkins, directed by Ayoko Jenzeri, Destiny Ikaraga, Amanda Marsalis, Alonso Alvarez, Janixa Bravo, and it is written by, once again, Octavia Butler, Brandon Jacobs Jenkins, Zenzel Price, Noah Rubintine, Joe Kakin, Bo Beck, Esfarjani, and Matthew Shire. It is produced by Joel Fields, Julian Jackson, Caroline Moore, Matthew Shine, Joseph Weisberg, and a host of other producers, too numerous to mention. Kindred focuses on a young Black woman called Dena. She is an aspiring TV writer, and she is able to time travel, but she travels back to the 1800s to a plantation from 2016. She seems to be trying to find herself and is still coping with the death of her parents. They both died in a car accident. She has recently sold the family brownstone that her grandmother left her in New York, and she used the money to purchase a home in LA so she could come back to her living relatives, which is her aunt and uncle. And like I said, her intent is to become a television writer. Now, the scene opens to her in this home that she has purchased, and Dana is in a dark room. Dana is lying on the floor, stomach down, and she's yelling, Kevin. She appears to be as if she is waking up from a dream of sorts. She's disoriented, or it looks as if she's in pain. Then later on, it is revealed that she has just been transported back through time from one of her many time travels to the antebellum plantation where her ancestors were enslaved. Now, she manages to get up from the floor, and then she is shown to have welts all over her back. So she runs herself a bath and pours Epsom salt into the water. She gets into it and she soaks. Now, meanwhile, the police are at her door and they're saying they received a call and they wanted her to open the door. The neighbors called them to check on her welfare. So they said they needed to speak to her, and even though she's trying to discourage them from coming in, they told her that they needed to speak to her or they will be entering by force. Now, all of a sudden, the scene changes, and then on the screen it shows that it says it's 2 days previously. And Dana is seen sitting watching Dynasty on TV. That is when she receives a phone call from her aunt Denise, who is waiting for her at the restaurant. Her aunt and her uncle Alan are at the restaurant, so she apologizes to them once she arrives for being late and informs them that she has now purchased the house and has officially moved from New York to Los Angeles. This comes as a shock to them that she sold the brownstone that her grandmother left her, and that she has taken that money and moved to LA, and she's trying to break into writing for television. Now, the aunt seems very concerned when she's given this news by Dana. And the conversation got a little questionable. You could feel there was some drama there. So the aunt, before departure, asked Dana to text her the address of her new home so that she could stop by on tomorrow and visit with her. She offers Dana a ride home, which she refuses. So the aunt and uncle leave the restaurant, and Dana is trying to find her a ride home, or Uber, or whatever. And she finds that she only has one bar left on her cell phone. So she approaches a waiter to ask if there is a charger available. She has no car because she lived in New York and did not require one, but certainly needs one now. But she's about to call for her a ride to transport her home, and ends up meeting a Caucasian waiter whose name is Kevin. Kevin offers to give her a ride home, and after some short hesitation, she accepts the ride. They have conversations on the way to her home. And once Dana arrives at the home, she opens the door to get out of the car and she falls to the ground. Kevin gets out to assist her. But the most odd thing for me about this movie was that when she approached her house and she went into the house, it was dark. She never cut on lights. She enters at night and never cuts on a single light. That's quite abnormal, especially if you are a single female living in a house all alone. It was also constantly dark. So she is in her house and she begins to fall asleep. She turns off the lamp and begins to hear what sounds like a baby. The noise little ones make. She gets up and notices a crib, and in it is a Caucasian infant laying on his stomach. So she turns the child over to his back, and then she hears two women talking. She walks and follows the sound of their voices, and she finds a Caucasian woman and a black woman talking about the infant. Dana says to them, "I turned him over on his back. He couldn't breathe." And the women ask, "Who is that?" She responds, "It's Dana." They turn to see her, and the black woman begins to scream. It scares Dana, and she awakes, only to find herself standing in the middle of her living room, draped in her comforter, and it is broad open daylight. Then Dana receives this visit from her aunt. She came, as she said she would, to visit her new home, Aunt Denise. She comes in and she tells Dana that is a lot of house for one person to live in, and asks her, "Where are your towels? And why is this comforter in the middle of the floor?" Dana explains to her that she was sleepwalking or something and woke up in that spot this morning. She says she had a dream about her mother, and she calls her auntie Nisi. Nisi asks Dana why she gave up everything and moved to LA, not telling anyone in advance that she would be coming. She has no bed. She has nothing there. And she let Dana know that she is worried about her. And the two are having a conversation about Dana's choices and about Olivia. Olivia is Dana's mother. And she said that she was concerned about Dana because Olivia had mental issues, as she felt. And she thought it could be genetic or hereditary. And Dana is offended about this conversation that they're having. It turns into an argument. And Aunt Denise is concerned that Dana may be exhibiting the same mental problems that her mother Olivia had. So after a nasty exchange of words between the two women, her aunt walks out the door. She's upset after calling Dana a princess, that she's behaving like a princess, and tells her, "You're not okay." And she then told her, "Go take a shower." Dana does not have driver's license or a car, so she calls Kevin once again to take her to run some errands that include purchasing a bed, buying grocery, etc. They even go out and have a little to eat. And Kevin then offers to assist her with putting together her bed. So Kevin is helping her to put together her bed. Dana pushes him on the bed once it is completed, knowing him less than 24 hours, and engages in sex with him. Really, Dana? Girl. Anywho, Dana and Kevin are laying in her bed. It is now nighttime, and Dana is awakened from her sleep and she gets up out of the bed and she walks into her kitchen for a glass of water. And when she walks into the kitchen, she sees a white kitty cat at her patio door. So she opens the door and picks the little cat up, and she hears the sound of someone calling for help. And once again, she is transported back in time and finds herself rescuing this Caucasian child, and his name is Rufus. He is drowning, so she gets him out of the water and she gives him CPR while the mother screams at her, "Who are you and what are you doing?" And a Caucasian guy runs up, pulls a gun on Dana, she throws her hands up in the air and she's screaming, and all of a sudden she awakes and she's back on the floor in her living room screaming and shaking. She's shaking. So Kevin jumps out of the bed, runs to where she is on the floor, and begins trying to wake her up. He is calling her name. He's saying, "Dana, Dana." But the doorbell rings, and it is the nosy neighbor from next door. They have a real Karen living next door. At least Dana does. And she's very racist on the sly. But Karen comes to the door. Her and her husband, they're like, "I heard a lot of screaming." So Kevin answers the door and lets them know everything is fine. She's asking a lot of questions. She's asking them all kind of odd questions, a little bit too intrusive for me. But Dana wants Kevin to stay. So she takes a shower. It's still night. And she sits next to him and discuss what she has just experienced. He is comforting her. So Kevin says plainly, "Has jet lag made my princess into a sleepwalker?" Dana is offended. She says, "Princess? Why did you say that?" She is so offended, she tells Kevin to leave. She gets up, she walks into her walk-in closet, and she's demanding that Kevin leaves at this point. He tries to apologize, but she's still demanding that he leaves. As she is standing in the closet and Kevin is speaking and he has his back to her and he's getting ready to go, Dana begins to cough and screams his name, "Kevin!" Then she disappeared. She is once again transported back in time to where she again rescues this Caucasian child from a burning house. She grabs the child and runs outside. Rufus says, "You are the nigger Hank that hunts our land." Rufus' dad is calling and Dana runs into the wood. She falls to the ground and hears a voice from a Caucasian guy who I think he's a patrol guy. You know, the slave patrol people. Who says, "You are Dana. Miss Olivia told me about you." He tells her how to get to Olivia's cabin. Then he asks her, "Before you go, what are you? Are you an angel or some else?" She said, "I don't know." Anyway, she knocks on the cabin door, and to her surprise, she finds inside her mother. And her mother is in this cabin with another lady and her daughter. It was a bit of an odd interaction because it is said that Olivia, when she left, that she herself was only 2 years old. Dana was when her mother disappeared or her and her father died. So I mean, it's so odd when they get together. It just seems odd. I would have been glad to see my daughter, and I would have been so happy to see my mother. Even if she didn't recognize me, I recognize her. You're my baby. I gotta hug you. I gotta give you some love. But they sit down. It's a odd conversation, just an odd thing there altogether. But she wants to know how she comes back and forth from the present to the past. And she told her that she's done it 3 times and that her mother lets her know that it happened to her when she was 26, and at this time Dana is 26, so she is able to transport. So there is obviously something there. They're having this conversation, then they hear this noise outside, And who is outside, of course? It is one of those slave patrollers. Death to all of them. But when she opens the door, her mother tells Dana, we're both are gonna need to run. And she's saying, run, Dana. But Dana kind of hesitates. But then she takes off running, and she is caught. And she is caught by this slave patroller, and he beats her. And this guy is beating her, and she disappears. She's being choked by this overseer. When Olivia appears, she's standing over her and she's saying, wait for me. But Dana is on the floor. She awakens. She's on the floor, and Kevin is trying to get her up. She is screaming. So she gets up and she says, I'm crazy, when she wakes up. And that is when Kevin says, no, you're not crazy. I was here when you disappeared, and I was here when you reappeared, with all the bruises and her black eye that she got from fighting with the overseer trying to protect herself. But this is when she learns it is all real. It is not a dream. But the question is, what happened to that wicked, evil Caucasian overseer that was abusing her? What happened to him? Didn't she pull him back with her? I think she pulled him back. Anyway, once again, Karen is at the door. She's knocking, and she rings the doorbell, and she's asking this time about her cat, the white cat. Karen is asking Kevin all kind of personal questions, like, how do you know Dana? Where's Dana? Stuff that is none of her business. Karen's always trips to me with their bold arrogance and feelings of grandeur. But anyway, she wants to know if she can check their backyard. Kevin, of course, says that Dana is asleep, because he doesn't want Dana to speak with her. She's just experienced something horrific. But she wants to know if she can check their backyard, because the previous owners fed her cat Princess. So she wanted to go see. He said, fine. But Kevin goes back to talking to Dana, and he looks at his phone and realizes that Karen, she's posting things on this neighborhood watch app, and it's things about him. So he's saying, Dana, we have to leave this house. Perhaps it's the house that's causing all of this. But Dana, we have to leave, because she's posting stuff and the neighbors, everyone knows my name. And he trying to pull her out of the house, because he's saying, if something should happen to you, they're going to blame me. And so he's pulling Dana toward the door. But all of a sudden, Dana is being pulled back in time once again. And it's like, what the heck is Kevin hiding? Does he have something to hide? She really don't know this guy really, but 24 hours. But anyway, Dana is being pulled back in time, and this time she pulls Kevin back into time with her. Again, she runs to try and save Rufus. Lord, this Caucasian child has fallen out of a tree and broken his leg. This little boy stay into too much stuff. His name is Rufus. And honey, at that point, he was really getting on my nerve. I'm like, your parents need to do a better job of watching you. As my daughter would say, you're just doing too much, honey. But each time Dana is transported through past and present, her stays at the plantation are getting longer. And when she comes back, it's like the time difference is so great compared to what she's experienced when she's on the plantation, compared to what she's experiencing when she's not on the plantation, when she's in the present. So each time she goes back, it seems to be getting longer, but it's not safe for her. Her life is threatened more and more. And considering the history of white supremacy and their mentality and America's brutal treatment of black people, she probably needs to stay as far away from slavery times as possible. But I cannot say that this isn't an interesting storyline, and I have a couple of issues with some of the characters and even some of the plot. Right now it just leaves me with more questions than answers for this particular show, and that's why I would give this movie 2 stars out of 5. and maybe even a 2.5 stars, because I am still looking to see where this plot twist leads to. It can be a bit confusing at times, and I just don't like how she was behaving over this little child. I was like, girl, whatever, get your mother and leave that place. I did not find some of the entanglements that she found herself in back in antebellum slavery believable for the most part. The way she would arrive on the slave plantation, she's in and out of room, she's acting like a spy, like she's solving a mystery, and how she would move around in and out of spaces. That just didn't seem realistic to me. I didn't quite understand how she was accepted on that particular plantation every time she would just appear. It just didn't seem realistic to me. Even though I understand it is sci-fi, I can't claim to understand her mission or why, because it made no real sense to me. Perhaps it just hasn't been revealed as of yet, and maybe it's supposed to be some I don't know if it's promoting interracial romance, or I know it's supposed to be about her bloodline, but at this point it does not explain or justify what she is actually experiencing and why is it happening. Her trips back in time are longer than she is aware of when she returns to the present, and the time thing is a bit confusing. The other characters have just as complex lives as Dena does, but it does little to explain Dena's existence for me at this point. There are just too many questions right now, more questions than answers for this storyline. And I want to know what happened to her mother, and did her father die, or what? Well, they said he died, but the mother thing, I just wanted to know, where is she now, since she actually brought her back in the final episode? Where did she go? I know it's New York, but where is she? What is the age difference? I'm not understanding. I need some more detail. But seems Hollywood prefers seeing these kind of roles for black people. They like putting us in these slave roles or subjugated roles as this, and it's a good plot for a movie, but I have one that's even better, and that would be to get a group of pro-black American people and have them have that ability to travel back and forth between the 1800s and the present with the historical information, the knowledge, and the ability to bring information, weapons, and technology that is available today back then. Now, that would be an interesting and empowering concept. Can you imagine the plot? Oh, I'll have to write that. I gotta start working on that. So, don't steal my idea, Hollywood. But Kindred TV miniseries 2022 is rated TVMA. It is for mature audiences. And if you would like to check out this TV miniseries, you certainly can do so, because season 1, which contains 8 episodes, is currently streaming on HULU. I want you to leave me a comment on your thoughts on this movie and let me know how you would rate this movie on a scale of 1 to 5. Now, this has been Dena, Mo Views and Reviews. Like, share, and comment. And if you have not already, be sure to subscribe and join me for my next movie review and recommendation. And I want you to remember, it's my view. Now, what you watching?